Okay, so we play now against Petrosian, but not
Not Tigran.
not Tigran.
It's a common name in Armenia, and this one was very strong young grandmaster in that time. And really, our game was decisive in this Bagneux tournament because we were the main favorites. I mean, if he could beat me in this game, most probably he could win the tournament. If I could win the game in our game here, I had excellent chances to win the tournament from Bagneux, which was a strong one, you know. So it was very interesting because he played a very important, well-known variation from Queen's Gambit for black. I mean, it was Soviet specialty, played by Karpov, Spassky, and so on with black, you know, Geller and many other well-known grandmasters. So knight f3, knight f6, and here bishop g5. The alternative is bishop f4, but okay, bishop g5. And here h6, bishop h4. This is the so-called Makagonov variation for black. I mean, Makagonov because it's a Russian variation, I mean, Soviet. And the move order is also very important. The white plan is well known. It was demonstrated later on by... in some very important game, Fischer against Spassky in this match from Reykjavik, where Fischer playing d4 almost for the first time in his life, you know, realized a fantastic game and one of the best of the whole game, you know, and he destroyed his opponent. I mean, by home analysis. Therefore, I tell you that the move order is very important, as we'll see in our game also, you know. So here, e3, b6. Here is the first important moment. Here white can choose another line by taking in f6. Bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, taking d5, takes in d5, and queen b3 or rook c1. And he can try to play on the queen side. Small advantage, but not so much. The alternative was the variation chosen by me. We had another plan, but also very interesting, where white has a small initiative all the time, you know. So I played bishop d3, bishop b7, castle, knight bd7. Okay, the result is clear. Everybody plays logical moves. White has a very small edge, and we'll see what happens in the next moves. I mean, who can demonstrate that his plan is clearly with a small advantage for black or for white, you know. So, okay, queen e2. And now c5. And after c5, rook d1, he took in d4. The normal move is to take with the pawn. If you take with the pawn, the game is more or less even. We played a very important game, Belyavsky and myself. I played with white, Belyavsky with black, in Baden in 1980 or 81, and the game was even. You know, it's not a big advantage for white. Knight d4 is very important novelty for white. In that time was probably the only game where white played already globally such a move, knight takes d4. Very important novelty, I tell you. The plan now is very clear. White wants to take later on in f6 and in d5 and play with a very small advantage against the Isolani pawn from d5. This is the idea from this opening. So after knight e5, now you take in f6, takes in f6, and pawn takes. Now he has to take in d3, because if he didn't take in d3 and take immediately with the pawn in d5, after bishop a6, it's very clear that white's advantage is very big. You know.
After
bishop a6.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Here.
He's forced to trade bishops, and is no counterplay at all, you know. Yeah. Against the weakness from d5. Okay, he took in d3, and now he took in d5. Now, if you take the bishop in d5, you have nothing with white, you know.
Because he takes
with the queen, of course, yeah, with the queen, and there's no advantage for white at all, you know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now you move the queen back.
No Isolani.
No Isolani. Now you move the queen, and you threaten already very unpleasant e4, e5, winning by force. So the move order is also very important for black now. If you have time to play e5, it's finished, Or if you play only e4, bishop somewhere, and knight takes e6, finished. The queen from d8 is under attack. So has to be very careful already here.
But why? Why is e5 is bad for black?
Because you open the game. After e4, he's forced to go back with the bishop, and
yes. But you said e4, e5.
Yeah, because we attack the bishop from f6. You open the d file, and you have time to move somewhere with the knight, and it's completely winning for white. So already here, black could lose very quickly. The rook c8 is probably the only move. Rook c8, and now this is the very unpleasant surprise, because now it's threatened to take already in d5, and we have the Isolani. We have the same number of pieces, but black has no counterplay, and he has always a problem with the pawn from d5 later on. Mm-hmm. So rook c5, almost the only move. If he took with the rook, you have time to take the pawn from a7. Again, enough, So he took with the pawn in d5, and now we have our idea, the Isolani pawn, and we try later on to attack the pawn, So.
But right now, why you cannot take the pawn here?
You can, but after queen d7 is not so clear, Maybe he has some good counterplay,
Queen d7?
Queen d7, yes. The knight is a little bit too far, on
yes.
a7.
Yes.
So no, rook d2 is okay. After queen d7, the knight back. If now he takes, the only moment when he could take, you take with the rook, and you continue finally with the other rook in d1, queen f3, and finally he loses the pawn from d5. If you lose the pawn from d5, the game is lost for black, So now he has to try to resist somehow in a very unpleasant position, you see? As a result, from home analysis, as I told you before, starting from this move, knight takes d4, everything is more or less forced in our game, as we could see, no? So now rook d1, and he tries to have some counterplay, but after that helps white, this move. He played a little bit active, but it's already in white's favor,
Why?
You'll see why.
Okay.
So I played b3, and he continued rook with queen a5, and now g3, okay. We accept the fact that he could take in d4, but again, we took with the rook, and finally, later on, he loses the pawn, in d5. So rook c1, he tries to trade some pieces, So, okay, I took with the rook. We can see what happens. The pawn from d5 is still weak, In any position, the pawn is weak. We have all our pieces very well posted, The advantage is clear. The queen is better, the rook is better, the knight from d4 is very strong, and the position is very unpleasant for black because you have still always the weakness from d5. Trying to get some counterplay, black weakens a little bit more the position, and we can win in a very tactical way in the next moves. We'll see. So h4, we prepare, as usual, the move h4, h5, controlling all the white pieces with some attacking chances and some mate threats, and again, has not counterplay at all. So what to do?
So you mean h4, h5?
Yeah, h4, h5. We control the white squares, and if our queen can come through g4 with some mate threats on the white squares, black is hopeless. There's no counterplay at all. So queen b4, again, he wants to put some pieces on the, the central squares. h5, we continue our plan. So rook c7, and now queen f3, rook c5. Okay, and now queen f5 is almost lost already, the position. Because if we arrive here with queen d7, is now counterplay and the position is lost. Queen d7 threatens to give a check in e8, winning the pawn in f7, and the attack continues, you see. This is the problem. So now, okay, he was already in time trouble, and a very unpleasant game. And queen a3 is also a little bit too much. I mean, he has no counterplay and he wants to take a pawn in a2. But even if you give 2 pawns in a2 and b3, we have very good attacking chances on the other side and we win, there, you see. So now...
So this pawn doesn't matter in this time?
Not at all, no. And we had time to play queen d7. Now he could resign the position, you see. Because king f8 is the only move. Again, against this very unpleasant threat, queen e8 check and queen takes f7. King f8 is the only move. And now we can move our knight, you see. Knight b5. What to do here? He realized the fact that even if he takes in a2 is too much. So queen b4 controls a little bit the central squares, but this again is too much,
So you intend to bring the knight here?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Knight d6. Now, it's resignable because we threatened 2 mates. Queen f7 mate and queen e8 mate.
Yeah.
So what to do? I mean, king g8, now the game is decided. Okay, so check, takes, and rook takes d5. We took the second pawn. Now, okay, he could resign, of course, but he played a little bit more. Rook c2, very big time trouble. Therefore, he continued a little. And he lost the rook,
Oh.
Yeah. Therefore, I told you, in very big time trouble, it was also a tactical mistake, but it was finished anyway. If he lost 1 pawn or 2 pawns, it was too much. But it was like a lesson in some positional play, how to play against the Isolani, The pawn from d5. In any position, against any very strong grandmaster, if he loses the pawn from d5, the game is lost. I mean, at this high level is enough.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't resign immediately in 2-3 moves, but the game is lost anyway.
So he has to defend that one, but
he has to defend all the time, and it's very unpleasant if in any position. If you lose the pawn, later on you lose the game. So here it happened that it was even worse because he lost the rook. Yeah.
But it's only 1 pawn. Why?
But at this high level is enough. Yeah. Any endgame is lost. Any tactical game is lost. Everything is lost for black. And therefore it's very unpleasant because you have no counterplay at all. Again, like in our games that we demonstrated before.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it's very easy to play. I mean, it's easier to play when you have also a little bit of game for you, some counterplay. But if you don't have counterplay at all, it's terrible, because when you have to wait like this, it's almost Zugzwang in every position.
Correct.
Yeah. But as I told you, it's very interesting because the opponent was very strong. I mean, compared with others from Indonesia and so on. And if you could show such a difference in positional play, is very instructive.
Correct.
And this high level. And of course, after this result, I could win easily the tournament from Bagneux. It was very good personal result.
Nice.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You're welcome.